Hello, welcome to the right side of the mic where truth and culture meet. I'm Theo Forward.
And I'm Theo's dad. And this is our first podcast together. So why do we want to do a podcast together, Theo?
We wanted to make this podcast so that we can talk a bit about the state of the world right now, including politics, things that are going on around in different countries, and just also about faith and Christianity.
So there is lots of things going on in the world. And we already do these conversations together because you're an inquisitive person and I like explaining things and actually finding out things for myself as well. So it's always good to get questions from you and just work it out together if we don't already have some ideas. And so we wanted to make this a little bit more formal, I guess, but have these conversations because I think they're important conversations. And I think people will get a lot about a lot out of it from your perspective, and we can discover things together.
Yeah.
But what does it mean for truth and culture to meet, Theo?
Well, it sort of means to look at the world and the things that are going on from a Christian mindset, and to sort of take out what is going on and sort of think about it in the best way that you think Jesus would.
Yeah, and I think both of us would agree that the things that are happening in the world, there's lots of things happening, and in some ways it seems a little bit hard to understand everything that's going on. But I think we would both agree that you can understand it better if we start to put it into that Christian perspective, that truth perspective, to help us understand that. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things a lot of political views even that if you look at it from a Christian perspective, it can look completely different to just a normal person thinking about it. So I think, it does play a huge role in everyday life.
Absolutely. So let's break down those words a little bit more though. So let's start with culture. What do you think of when we say culture?
When we say culture, well, the meaning of culture is sort of just like the way particular people act in their sort of group and the way of life in that sort of area. And then
So we often hear the word culture and we go, oh yeah, I know what culture is, but sometimes it makes sense to break it down a little bit further. So one way to break it down is to think of the different influences in culture, such as family, religion, education, government, entertainment and the arts, and the media. So there's all of these different competing, these different spheres of influence in culture, isn't there?
Yeah.
So if you thought about where churches usually engage with culture, where would you say that is?
Probably more in the politics.
A little bit, yeah.
A
little bit. But religion, if we think of that as a sphere of influence, that's really where we often think of the church being involved, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think, that's just one part of culture, and I think God expects us to be involved in all of culture.
Yeah, because you can't really live without involving in culture, at least a little.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that doesn't, thinking of those big spheres of culture, often doesn't think about some of the smaller things like computers. Do you think computers have had a little bit of an impact on culture?
Not just a little bit, kind of a lot.
Yeah, so those big spheres of influence that I talked about don't really encompass things like technology, which impact all of those different things in culture. They impact the entertainment industry and the media, and how we interact with media, and they impact education systems and politics and all of these different things, don't they?
Mm.
Okay, so truth. What does truth mean?
Truth is the correct, I don't know how to put it, but truth is I think it's more sort of on a religious sort of standpoint in this way. So sort of like the truth of life. Mm-hmm. So Christianity is what we believe is the truth of life, and following God and believing that Jesus died on the cross for our sins is the truth of life.
Yeah, so we very much think of it as very much grounded in that faith perspective of truth, don't we?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in our culture, in our Western culture, that think of truth as, oh, that's your truth, I've got my truth. And so they have this, well, it's called subjective truth. But we would say, no, there is actual things that are true and things that are not true. In fact, John, the book of John, how does the book of John start?
Oh, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Wait, the Word was with God, and the Word was God?
Correct, yeah. So, and it later on in that chapter goes to say, and the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. So Jesus was the Word, and he became flesh, and he was full of truth and grace, is what it says. Later in John 14, we also read this. John 14:6 says, this is actually Jesus' words, and he said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So Christ says, or Jesus says, he is the truth, and so we must have him as part of our foundation of what is true and what is not.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have lots of fun having discussions. Sometimes it'll be more on that Christian side or biblical ideas that we're talking about. Sometimes it'll be more on what? Politics.
Politics. Things that are going on around the world. Like actually recently the Nepal riots was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's lots of interesting things. And actually, I think it'll be interesting to touch on some of those things that aren't getting a lot of play in the news media, like the Nepal riots. You know, there's some really good YouTube videos out there of people that were on the ground. But yeah, I think it'll be really good just to explore what we're seeing in the world and how our Christianity, or how to see that through a Christian lens.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this journey. You have anything to say?
No.
What about like and subscribe?
Like and subscribe for more videos.
But anyway, we're really glad that you're here with us, and we hope to enjoy the journey together.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
I think the whole